Alright, welcome everyone. So in this video, I'm going to be covering something called gradient maps. And this is, you may wonder what in the world that is. It's a really interesting, pretty cool way of getting, interesting palettes for some of your pages. This is a page from a pitch I'm working on, written by Nic J and drawn by Nick Barber. I'll have links to their websites and whatnot in the description. But I get questions every now and then about, how did you choose, this tone for this skin color here? Why this color? Which is like a light blue, or why did how did you get this red? What made you decide on this red? Sometimes on some pages in certain lighting conditions, I pretty much just grab the color I'm going to use, and that's what it's going to be. But for this one, I sort of wanted to try something a little different. It's a nighttime scene, and there's sort of a quick way to sort of give you a bit of a shortcut into getting to some of those kind of interesting, more interesting palette options than just, peach skin and red hair and blue skies and all of that. So the page looks like this when I get it from the flatter in this case. So it's sort of psychedelic, not really what we're looking for. All these colors, of course, are going to be changed. So I went in, and these are the changes that I made after I got it from the flatter. So I just went in and adjusted all the colors to, basically local color. Her skin is a skin tone. The color I wanted the bed sheets to be, the brown, what do you call that? The brown nightstand. The paper's white. Pretty straightforward local color, as they call it. So color as if it was in a white light or in a sunlight. And what I did in order to get the sort of cooler, I don't mean cool like awesome, but cooler palette here, I actually, on top of my flats, there's a little symbol here. It's adjustment layers. It looks like a half moon, or it's a half filled in circle or something. So you click on the layer that you're going to be adjusting. The way these things work is they adjust everything below them. So I'm going to click that adjustment layer, go to gradient map. All right, and it defaults to, I don't know how it decides on which goes first, but it defaults to just one of the gradient maps that you've used recently, or one that's stored, maybe a default here. And I'm going to click on this gradient map. Now what this is actually doing is all of the darkest parts of the page, it's basically shifting them to this color. So it's sort of, and I'm probably explaining this poorly, but so the dark part of the darkest color in the panel is replaced with this brown. The lightest part is white, and then every other value in between is replaced, with this gradient. So, a middle value gray would be this, about this color here, and so on and so forth. So on this page, what I did, I think this is actually the one that I created for this. So I've got a dark color on one end, I've got a light color on one end. Now, how did I determine those? You've got a, kind of a saturated, not really saturated, but a warm shadow color, because I wanted the light from the window to be cool. It's nighttime, so you can click on this little bottom image here, and I made it a light blue, basically. So it's a light blue on one end, representing the light from the outside, and then a warm shadow color, in this case kind of a red, on the opposite end of the color wheel. And you can see where everything in this panel now is some shade along this, or some tint, I guess you could say, along this gradient here. So the darkest colors became this brownish red, the lightest colors became this blue. All right. So that looks a little interesting, but not quite what I'm looking for. So you're going to change the color mode of this gradient map to color, and you can see it's it's made the gutters white, and it's adjusted even more, but everything is still a shade of this gradient here. And then all I did was sort of play with the opacity here a little bit, and so you get a different look depending on how, as far as this base color underneath, how much that's coming through just depends on the opacity. So if I go low, the original color is pretty much coming through, halfway, and some of it's coming through a little bit more, and it's pretty much what I ended up here. I don't know if I'll be able to duplicate it exactly. I did go in, of course, make adjustments to the colors afterward, but it sort of did get me in the ballpark of of where it was going to be. So this is just a quick way to get some cool colors or interesting palettes to start with. If you're not used to deciding on what colors you're going to be using or how they're going to fit in the page, this sort of gets you in the ballpark. And of course, they've still got to be adjusted. So so short video today, like I said, but thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, click that thumbs up button. I'm going to be going into more detail on this page and on this technique in my coloring course. I think I'm going to make this another bonus video, and there's a link to that. If you haven't checked that out, there's a free lesson there to see if you want to kind of go with a trial there. So anyway, thanks again for watching, and see you in the next video.